We are on air.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this webinar when we will talk about measurement and verification, savings measurement and verification.
That's correct.
Really interesting topic because all we are involved on this savings thing, right? So we will try to show you, to explain what savings measuring means, how we can measure and verify this complex task that is measuring savings, and how Dexma can help you in doing that process the easiest possible. So let's start. And I will start. Sorry,
This is Alfonso.
I am Alfonso, yeah, product director in Dexma.
And I'm Jordi, product manager of maximise. So we are Dexma, part of Dexma.
So let's start.
Let's go.
Okay, to save energy is to reduce energy consumption. Good, obvious, right? Of course, it is something that we all know. But the thing is, what if I didn't save energy? How much would I consume? So let's think about this. Saving energy is to reduce the consumption. That I know I'm saving energy, right? I have changed that HVAC machine. I have performed a lot of energy performance measures. So I know I'm saving energy, but what if I didn't save? How much would I be consumed if none of those measures were in place? And that's the tricky part of the savings, because there is no way to measure directly these are the savings, right? With a scale, it is about calculating them.
We do not have a savings meter. We have a
savings meter. It would be great, but
saveometer.
It doesn't exist. So at the end, it's not that easy. It's a process. Measuring the savings is a process. And we will try to explain you, to describe how this works, and how, after that, how Dexma can help you to do it easy. Okay. So measuring savings.
How do you measure what cannot be measured?
At the end, energy savings are the difference between the current consumption, the real consumption we have, and the consumption we would have if we had not taken any energy performance measure. That is, I had, as you see in the chart, that is a really well-known chart of Evo, that we will talk a bit about this later. But when you are in the baseline period, before any energy performance measure is in place, we have our consumption, okay? But at the in the moment when we install energy conservation measure or performance measure, then the consumption is lowered, right? And that's the green line on the chart. But which would be the consumption if that measure was not in place? And that's the baseline. That's the tricky part and the most important part of the measuring and verification process. That is to create that baseline, okay, that reference consumption. So this is what we will try to explain today and to show you how to do. Okay, so the baseline represents the energy usage prior to that energy performance measure implementation, okay, and represented tries to explain the consumption in front of other variables that might explain that consumption. Okay, so we will try to clarify this. And what are the savings? That green area is the difference, the difference between the baseline and the real consumption we have today. So as you see, it's not that easy as measuring. We have to calculate that baseline energy, and we will see how to do so. Okay. So a baseline consumption, it represents the energy usage prior to that energy performance measure. Okay. And once we have it, it is compared against the energy usage after the implementation of the measures to determine those savings, to calculate those savings. Okay. If we want to do the best practices, and it is of course recommended to cover the whole operational cycle when defining a baseline. A baseline will represent a period of consumption before we install that energy performance measure, and we'll try to relate the consumption we had before with these other variables, maybe the weather, maybe the occupancy, and so on, that may explain that consumption. Okay, but it's important to cover a whole operational cycle. In a building with HVAC, that its consumption usually depends a lot on the outside temperature. Having a whole year is recommended because it covers both the summer and the winter periods, and therefore you have a whole the idea of a whole operational cycle. In an industry where maybe in 1 week we can even have the whole operation cycle of the industry, and it doesn't depend too much on the weather, for instance, it could be enough. But it's important to understand that depending on the project, we will need a longer reference period, okay, or baseline period, okay? So the baseline will relate the consumption to these independent variables that explain such consumption, and candidates could be weather conditions, occupancy, production, and so on. So these variables that may affect the consumption are candidates to be included in the formula. Being candidate doesn't mean that all of them have to be there. We will see if a certain variable explains that much or not. And even it's important to understand that having a lot of variables is also could be a problem if it is not easy to get that data, because we need these variables to be measured during the whole project. So before the energy performance measure in the reference period, and after in the reporting period, because we need them to define, to calculate the baseline formula, but also we need them to evaluate that baseline. So at the end is calculating a baseline, creating a formula that explains the consumption due to these variables, and once the consumption is lower, okay, explaining or calculating the baseline based on those variables that continue being measured, okay? Therefore, the savings are the baseline period energy minus the reporting period, and some adjustments that could be also added depending on the situation. So this is what the baseline is used for, okay? Good. So, and what is IPMVP? I talk about EVO, Efficiency Evaluation Organization. At the end, IPMVP is a protocol. It's a guideline of good practices to try to simplify and to clarify measure and verification process, because it is complex. So having that guideline, having that standard will help us to compare different offers, for instance, in a certain project, okay? So it is important to understand that Dexma tool and your procedures could be based on the IPMVP and could be, of course, compliant to the IPMVP protocol. But at the end, IPMVP is to help you. Maybe it is something that you have to cover in a certain project, but if you just want to do things better, to save energy in your buildings and to create those savings and measure and verification projects easily, maybe you don't need to follow all the steps of the protocol. At the end, is the most important thing is to save energy, okay? So here it is, the IPMVP protocol for you to help you and to standardize the industry, but it's not necessary to do the savings thing, okay? So, and it introduces to PMVA and PMVE that are those professionals that are certified on the protocol, okay? Okay, then what an energy performance contract is. You you base your business in creating savings for your customers, and your customers want you to verify, to even to guarantee those savings, right? So a performance contract at the end is a private contract between the customer and yourself to define the distribution of these savings. Okay, so at the end they are used to define the profitability of the project, which part is for you, which part is for me. This is a private contract, but that's the reason why IPMVP is important, also to create that basis, that shared knowledge about the good practices of the measuring and verification. Okay, so as you see in the image, we have that in blue, the existing operating costs, and once we lower them to the red ones, that they are the new operating costs after the energy performance measure, we have a part in blue that goes to financing the measures we have invested in, okay, and the rest is for this poor savings, let's say. And once all these measures have been paid, then the whole savings would be to be shared, let's say, okay. And the way you define the contract with your customer will affect, of course, which part you get. Okay, so at the end, these projects are defined to help you create and to clarify your business. Okay, and measuring and verification is key for this. So, what Dexma can help you?
How can we help you?
We have the ability to provide with some tools that will speed up your process, that will make this process easier, and that will help you to really understand, react quickly, and be able to cover more projects even in the same time. So at the end, we are here to help you on this, to make it easier and faster. So Dexma M&V will allow you to track all your projects and establish multiple targets even for each of them. Will allow you to keep track of every single project according to IPMVP if you want to do so, if you want to really use the protocol, or you need to do so, okay? But not only every single project, but also with the ability of grouping all the projects to aggregate the savings of the whole organization. So at the end, we have a lot of projects we want to save in different buildings, in different projects. So aggregating the savings will give us a clear picture of the whole performance of my company. Okay. And last, creating the baseline. So the ABC app will help you to speed up this baseline creation, and will also increase your confidence in the baseline. No matter if you have a lot of experience or not, it will help you to really speed up the process of this baseline creation.
So you don't need to deal with spreadsheets with lots of data across different places. You just have your data in the platform and it calculates the baseline.
We'll see how we see this and how fast it is. Okay. So again, we can list every of our projects, each of them one by one, or we can group them to aggregate the savings. So we have these two concepts, the projects and the groups. We will see them. And the ABC. The N is based on statistics. I did the statistics on in the college, but I'm not an expert in statistics. So when creating a baseline, I don't have that confidence. So having a tool that helped me to really understand and to see if I'm adding the good variables or not, and if even adding a variable is useful at all or not, is really key for this project. Okay. And what if I could create not only one baseline but a lot of baselines, one baseline for each of my locations in a single click? I would be more than happy, right? Because at the end, it is not only about the complexity of the IPMVP, but about measuring the savings I'm getting. So if my organization is doing the things right, I would like to just create one baseline for all my locations and start checking all this information or even aggregating all those savings in a group. Okay, so we will see it.
Lastly, but not leastly, we
We
can
need
share.
to share.
Yeah.
We need to share.
Once you have all your analysis.
Then our business is to create those savings, but also to share them with our customers, our partners, to engage people. So sharing savings in the dashboard are also a really good tool for you and for your business. And so, Jordi, we can start showing how Dexma can help you on all this measurement verification process. Okay.
Yeah, let's go for it. So as Alfonso said, we have a list of projects already created in the platform that we can track in the measure and verification section. But before having those projects, what we need to do is to create a baseline calculation. And
right.
As we said just a moment ago, we don't have to deal with endless spreadsheets and data that comes from a meter, data that comes from my IoT devices or whatever, to cross-reference it and have it here because it's already inserted in the platform. If you already work with Dexma or if you work with similar platforms, once you integrate the data here, it's very easy to deal with everything. So we have our site in Barcelona, our headquarters, for which we want to track some energy performance measures that we started in sometime recently. We are not doing a great deal of work. We haven't done big investments, but we are tracking that the set point temperatures are below or the set point temperatures for summer and winter are at a given point in order to make sure that we do not overspend on heating and cooling. And we're also keeping track of nightly consumption to avoid overconsumptions on periods where there is no one in the office, as it is a building, an office building. So we select the location, we select the device for which we want to track the savings. In this case, it's our main fiscal meter in the building and the active energy parameter. Our reference period is going to be the whole of 2022 because that's the latest data that we have, and we trust it because it was already sort of stable after the big peak of the pandemic. So we're going to focus on that. It suits the same use that we're getting in the building lately. And we switched to daily frequency because we think that parameters such as the weekends can influence it because it's an office building. Here we choose the variables that we want to affect our model. As Alfonso said, we're going to use a statistic model in specifically multiple linear regression, and the parameters that we think might influence this model in our case are going to be the degree days, but if we had occupation data or production data or any parameters that we think might affect our consumption, we can track it, insert it in the platform and track it and add it here.
Any variable that you are already tracking, and remember that you have to track it before and after the measures, and if you think that they could explain the consumption, can be added to this form. Okay.
The system will evaluate all the variables and propose a model, but having a lot of variables doesn't mean that the model is good. So you can iterate with the system and decide a model that fits your data. In this case, we have added also the interaction between parameters, the exponent of the parameters, sorry, and as we mentioned, the weekend, because the performance of the building is different. And we hit calculate the baseline, and automatically we get a baseline proposal here. In this case, it's a formula that depends on whether it's a weekend or not. The weekends reduce consumption, as we can see. So consumption will be lower on Saturday or Sunday. And the degree days affect the model, both cooling and heating degree days that we introduced here. These are codes that we use for these devices, but it means cooling degree days and heating degree days.
2 minutes?
Yeah, and we have a baseline.
And
we were talking, so if you know what you're going through, you go way faster.
Really speeding up your process. Yeah, that's the key thing of this application, this feature. Okay.
Yeah, and we obtain a baseline that we could trust. 0.75 is nothing to write home about, but it's not too bad either. So we can keep it as a reference. This is a KPI that indicates how good the model fits the data. So 75% of fitness isn't too bad if we don't want like super exact precision. and most projects we would say it's a good KPI.
And at the end, it's on your side if you want to iterate, or you could even validate your formulas, the ones that you are using versus another ones that are automatically created from the application. So it's a solution for you, no matter if you are an expert or you don't have that much confidence, to get baselines, iteration, and creation really quickly.
That's correct. Okay. And here we can see that in blue we have the baseline, and in black we have the actual consumption, real consumption, and we can see the data more or less follows the same trend. If we are happy with our baseline, we can then send it to the measure and verification section. We can preview how it's going to look, and if we think it fits, we can create a new project based on this baseline, and then we will see this project in the project section, which is where we're showing earlier. Excuse me. So in this case, we're tracking this building, our Barcelona site, Barcelona headquarters, and this is the main project, measure verification project screen. Here we can see in blue the reference consumption based on the model that we just calculated, and in the traffic lights color, let's see, green, yellow, and red, we see the current actual consumption. So green means we are below the baseline consumption, so we are performing good. Yellow or ochre means that we are near the consumption. We're in that uncertainty range that the IPMVP protocol establishes. We keep track of that with this color. And red means that we are over-consuming. And just to verify that we have the baseline here, we can see the baseline that we calculated here. The R square that of the model is listed here, and the variables of the model. We can add conditionals. In this case, the model changes on weekends. We can reflect this here. And if we had a corporate event on a given day, for instance, we say that the consumption is higher on a specific date, we can also reflect it here. If we want to track not only our energy savings, but also the amount of CO2 emissions that we are saving, we can also add a conversion factor here, or do the same for primary or final energy. And we have a field here to write our energy performance measures or anything that we deem relevant of the project in this field here.
So note for the ones that you can that you know how IPMVP protocol works, all these concepts, all these adjustments, the non-routine and routine adjustments are the ones that the IPMVP protocol defines, but at the end are clear enough so that to use them for your purpose, no matter if you need that complexity on the project or you just want to keep track of your settings in an easy way. Okay.
Yep. And once we have configured the project, we can see it here. We can import download the data in an Excel file, or import the data in one of our automatically generated reports. So you can have a PDF that is periodically generated with the latest data. And we have other charts that help us track the project. In this case, we set a target of 5% of savings. We are not very ambitious with the energy conservation measures that we are doing, but we are nonetheless saving more energy than we thought we would be saving. The top chart shows the energy as it is, and here we see the accumulated of the whole project. So if we zoom in, we can see that we are below the target and the reference. So we are good. The project is good. If it was different, we would see that the baseline would be below the bars, and the situation would be different. But it gives us a way to see if we are doing good or bad.
And the good thing, I mentioned before that we have a lot of detail. Imagine this project, for instance, in another resolution, like a monthly resolution. If you think of this project, it gives a good information, and it is, in fact, the frequency you have the bills of the building is usually a usual frequency for evaluating the savings and the measurement and verification projects. But having this information we have on screen is good, but is not enough to react quickly. So I don't want to wait until the month ends to know if I am saving energy or not. So having a higher resolution of these savings, like the daily ones, will help us react really quickly. And the first or second day of the month, be really confident of the savings we are generating, and do not have that surprise, let's say, at the end of the month. So even if you have a monthly project, you can try to simulate it on a daily basis also, so that you have real-time information.
Mm-hmm. And it's easier to correct. You don't have to wait until the end of the month.
Correct.
That's correct.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've seen what we can do for one project. We can calculate the baseline for one side. We can track the project and see the savings, send it to a report. But what if we want to do it for a portfolio of buildings? Well, as Alfonso said earlier, we can do so with the bulk baseline generator. In this case, we are going to select the energy source for which we want to generate those projects, the reference device, in this case, the main supply of every building, reference period, just as before, the past year, demonstrative period, the current year, or we could extend it to 2, 3, whatever, how many long years we want to have our project. The type of project, which could be energy management or lighting. In this case, we are doing energy management measures. The target savings that we would like to apply to our projects, and the uncertainty range. And once we have all of that, it's as easy as hitting launch, and automatically the same method that we just saw with automatic baseline calculator for one side is going to be applied to all of our portfolio, and we will have a baseline consumption and project automatically generated for us. So we can track savings across all of our sites.
Some clicks.
Yep.
Really speeding up the savings calculation. Okay, so that's the cool thing of having a feature like Dexma M&V, is that making things easy and quick. Okay.
That's right, speeding up time so you can track things.
You have to focus on achieving those savings, right?
That's correct. So once we have all our projects generated, if we want to measure them together or track several buildings together, or even a whole portfolio of buildings, in this case we have 3 buildings, we can do so with M&V groups. It works just the same as the projects. We just click on the group and we see the total baseline and savings of our whole portfolio of buildings. It works just the same as we saw earlier.
So we can create one baseline in 1 minute or 2 minutes. We can track as a measurement verification project in a really easy way, as we have seen. We can even create lots of baselines in some clicks. Okay, so the whole organization will be covered. Every location will have its reference consumption to calculate how good we are doing in terms of energy savings. And we could even aggregate all those savings to have that single figure of the whole organization performance.
Mm-hmm.
As we mentioned at the beginning, doing things really easy, right? So it's a complex process. You can do it really complex. You can go to the IPMVP when necessary. It is totally compliant. But the key thing, the most important thing, is not the protocol itself, is to save energy, right? So it's good for your business, it's good for the planet, and we're here to help you on this task. Okay, so really cool. And what we can do now, Jordi?
Well, we have the M&V section, but maybe we can share that with our customers in a more user-friendly way, or not user-friendly, but visual way. That's the word I was looking for. But we can do so with our dashboards. As some of you might know, we have been working hard on the new Dexma dashboards, and we can add the measure and verification projects to our dashboards. So I've created a dashboard earlier already, and we can see here the same view that we just saw in the measure and verification section. The aggregated project as well in monthly resolution. We have a KPI that tells us how much we're consuming in the year the current year and compared to the previous year. We've written down our energy performance measures here for our customers to see, and we even have the variables that explain the baseline here measured as well, so we can see how they affect our baselines in real time as well. And that was quite easy to configure. I'm not going to go into details of how to configure this dashboard, but it didn't take me more than 5 minutes to make this.
So this is a really good way to engage our customers and our colleagues also. Maybe we want to share them. Yeah. So really good tools to your business. Yeah. Okay, to the visibility of.
And it's really easy to share it with them. It's as easy as coming here, sharing it, and then we can select the group of users, profile of users that we have, and we can add them to the dashboard if we want them to edit the dashboard, if we just want them to see, or we could even make the portfolio, the dashboard public with the whole organization. And if we are not too bothered with users accessing the platform, we can even copy this link here and just share it with them over email or WhatsApp, Telegram, or whichever communication means that you have with your users. You just send them this link here, and automatically this loads, and they can access this dashboard in real time. And if new data enters, they will see this updated with the latest savings. They don't have to wait for the latest PDF report to be generated. This is automated, updated in real time.
So keeping track of your savings has never been that easy. You can create the baselines quickly. You can evaluate your project. You can share your savings easily with your customer. And that's basically what we wanted to show you. I hope you have enjoyed the session and that you can really get profit of these cool features, these tools that will help you for sure to speed up your process in measuring and verifying the savings. That is the thing why all of we are here. So thank you for your attention. And if they have any question, right? Yep. If you have any question, you can just
leave them in the chat or send them via email, and we'll be more than happy to
find this and go to webinar. So we'll answer you. So yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Alfonso.
Thank you, Jordi. Thank you for your time, and see you on the next one. Thank you.
Bye-bye.